you're settled in for an amazing hour of true stories from heroes across the Great Lakes to celebrate some amazing work to protect our water in the Great Lakes region. I am going to sit back myself and listen, and I everybody gets a little bit of inspiration from today. So thank you again. Thanks for being here, and thank you for all your wonderful work.
Thanks, Jill. That was great kickoff for our special Earth Day celebration. I just wanted to remind everyone, I think most people are pretty familiar with Zoom. If you want to see the slides that we have in just the main speaker, if you go to that upper right corner in the view area, you can click on speaker view. That way you'll see the main speaker at the time. You can also look at the gallery if you want to look at our funny expressions as we react to all the good work everyone's doing. It's up to you. Please keep your mics muted, and we look forward to sharing all the great stories over the next few minutes. We're going to kick off today actually with our first freshwater hero is Need Our Water, or NOW. And this organization has been working very hard to address the PFAS contamination at Wordsmith Air Force Base in Oscoda, Michigan. And they have held the government accountable. They're working to get more funding and quicker action on this contamination site. So I'd like to introduce Tony Spaniola to accept this award.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you all for having me here today and for this wonderful award for a group that's very near and dear to my heart, Need Our Water, in Oscoda, Michigan. Our group was formed in December of 2017 after 7 years of struggles with the Air Force in Oscoda. A group of people came together and we sat around a room and we said, you know, we're just not making progress. We need to do something different. And everyone in the room made a pledge to be a part of the organization, to take some steps, perhaps publicly, that they had been reluctant to do beforehand. And our little tiny community of 7,000 people in Oscoda, Michigan, that's far away from any national or local media sources of any real meaningful nature, has been propelled to the national forefront here just in the last, over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. It's been an amazing thing to see. It's been amazing to watch how folks in my community, ordinary people who had never before had to go up against any type of government bureaucracy, let alone probably the most powerful bureaucracy in our government, the United States Department of Defense. And we've managed to do it. We have a long ways to go. Our fight is nowhere near ended, but we've come a long, long, long way and are recognized as probably one of the most powerful PFAS groups, community-based PFAS groups in the country. I won't go on too long here, but just want to say to you that in our little community, we now have one of the only PFAS testing laboratories in the United States. We are the subject of a film documentary by Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Sarah Ganim that'll be coming out on iTunes just in a couple of weeks, called No Defense. And we've been working closely with our congressional champions, Senator Peters, Senator Stabenow, Congressman Kildee, Congresswoman Slotkin, to do all sorts of really, really cool things. I know that we're just about out of time here, and there are so many other amazing people that we need to hear from, but I want to say to you all, your work is an inspiration to us and to Freshwater Future. Not only thank you for this award, but for your continuing support. And so now I'll sit back and listen to the rest of the heroes here today because I'm ready to be inspired. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tony. We really appreciate it. Our next freshwater hero is Jeff Whitelow. He is with the Bright Neighborhood Community Development Group in Chicago. I've had the pleasure to know Jeff for over a decade. And this year, we're just so fortunate for all of the efforts that he did to work with residents in Chicago to champion the effort to help get them access to drinking water, as well as access to forgiveness on their water bills. So without further ado, here's Jeff Whitelow. Jeff, we probably
Yeah,
have to.
I'm here. I was trying to get my face on the camera too. But anyway, I'm glad you guys can hear me. Yeah, I met Ann about a decade ago with the Grand Boulevard Association. And she's been very supportive of me in Detroit with some of the work that I did around flooding issues and working with 4 neighborhoods. And then I moved from Detroit to Chicago, and I met with Brandon and Alicia to start up the Chicago Water Council, which I've been doing since the summer. And we've been doing some really great work around water affordability. Our main focus is to, help the city of Chicago get, important information to residents, especially low-income residents, about what's going on in the city around water affordability. And in the last, let me say, 4 or 5 months, we've worked with numerous clients, saving them close to about $50,000 in water bill debt. So they can get onto a new water bill plan where they can, pay the city, but pay the city at affordable rate. We're working in one neighborhood or one part of Chicago at this moment, but our goal is to expand. And we're really excited about the work, that we're doing in Chicago. So yeah, that's about all about what I'm doing, but it's something that I really, really enjoy.
Well, thanks so much, Jeff. We really appreciate all that you're doing, and we'll continue to work together. Our next freshwater hero is Corinne Armistead with Earth Economics. And we were fortunate enough to be able to work with Corinne and her colleagues at Earth Economics to create a stormwater app where we could document flooding and try to engage residents in climate resilience work. And when COVID hit last year, Corinne spent even extra time with us so we could adapt that app so people could use it to determine where people didn't have access to water. So Corinne is getting her PhD, so she's not available at the moment, but I'd like to introduce Olivia Molden with Earth Economics to accept the award.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here, and thank you to all the water heroes. It's just incredible to learn about your work. When I brought up this event and Corinne's award at my office, Earth Economics, all of my colleagues talked about Corinne's passion for environmental equity issues, her creativity with spatial analysis, her flexibility and sensitivity to the needs of our partners, and especially the great opportunity we have to work with many community-based organizations who are doing fantastic work across the country. So in addition to her incredible cartography skills, take a look at her maps, they're fantastic. She has a knack for developing new approaches like the Stormwater app. And these really help us understand nature-based solutions, benefits of ecosystem services, and environmental harms. And she always takes the time to clearly set up systems so we can use these again and again and really communicate these approaches. And even though she's so busy working on her PhD right now at the University of British Columbia, she continues to provide us with mentorship and advice, and we're so appreciative for that. I know she's particularly passionate about her work with Freshwater Future, and definitely very excited to see Alexa's work there, especially with the GIS application. So we're so fortunate for a mentorship. As I mentioned, she continues to reach out and provide advice. And I'm so excited to continue following her work. So congrats. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. That was great. We look forward to working with you in the future too. Our next award goes to the Friends of Kingston Inner Harbor in Ontario. And they've been working on a project to identify habitat along the harbor shoreline for the northern map turtle, which is a species of concern. And through that work, they have worked with city officials to protect the habitat, which not only protects it for the turtles, but also beneficial for humans and flood resilience and climate resilience. So I'd like to introduce Mary Farrar.
Thank you so much, and totally thrilled to be here. It's wonderful to be Canadian participant in this mainly American organization, but the more I look at maps of the Great Lakes and the watersheds, the more I feel connected to everyone around the Great Lakes in every way. So I'd just like to say a few words about our organization quickly. It's a very multifaceted organization, and we have dealt with creating a 20-kilometer cycling trail and street art festivals and preserving heritage buildings and blocking a superhighway from coming through the downtown waterfront. And most recently, it's been the turtles, and we have protected over 100 turtle nests from predation in each of the last 5 years with 50 volunteers involved. And we were so grateful to Freshwater Future for giving us a grant to do this radio telemetry pilot study, where we attached antenna to 6 turtles to see what the range was. And we lost one. We don't know if he died or was the glue came apart for the antenna at the bottom of the river. One disappeared into Lake Ontario that we called Marina, but she came back. But what we discovered was that most of the turtles went up to Kingston Mills, which is a 7-kilometer distance away, to hibernate, where they have oxygenated flowing water. And this was of use to the city because they were building a new bridge, and we had to make sure that the turtles had safe passage all through this. And most recently, we're involved in a huge fight against the Canadian government that wants to do a, in quotes, cleanup that we are concerned will actually resuspend heavy metals into the water and possibly aggravate the drinking water. So this is a really serious problem, and we may be coming back to Freshwater Future to ask for help with that. But thank you so much for the help with our pilot study. And our citizen science work has now gone on to the university, and we have one of our volunteers doing a master's, and we're hoping that others will pick up. So it was a real impetus that Freshwater Future gave to us. So thank you so much, and happy Earth Day to everybody.
Thanks so much, Mary. That's great. It points out the need for once you start a project, it takes many, many years or decades to finish, or it goes on forever. So I'm very thrilled to introduce the next freshwater hero, who is Jerry Holycross with Thermo Fisher Scientific. We approached Jerry with this big, crazy idea about building a community-based lab in Flint. And we wanted to get a kind of a reaction if he thought this would be something that his company would be interested in. And his enthusiasm and willingness to help us kind of problem solve through the process was essential for creating the lab, which is now open. So thanks so much, Jerry. And we're glad you could join us today.
Thank you, Anne. And it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for the invitation to join this, celebration. And happy Earth Day. So I'm grateful to be part of this project. And I'm certainly happy that our corporate leadership here at Thermo Fisher Scientific understood the importance of this donation and its eventual impact on the Flint community. Thermo Fisher Scientific, basically, we're the largest lab supplier of instrumentation and products. I like to say in the universe, but that's not fair to say. But so I've been working for Thermo about 20 years, and this is an unusual project for me that has allowed me to participate in something that's outside my usual sales roles. So when Tim called me and proposed the idea, I thought it was a fantastic idea. But I had to convince our company that it was. And thankfully, they understood completely what the project was about and were in full support and gave me the go ahead to install an instrument, get it set up, and do training and really make this into a real, decent lab. So I'll continue to support the lab. I think my role diminishes as time goes on. There's several people from our company that are supporting it, and so far so good. I look forward to future instrumentation in the lab and future capabilities, and I'm here to help whenever I'm needed. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys.
Well, thanks so much, Jerry. And I don't think your opportunity to play a role will diminish. I'll just let you know, once you get involved with us, we don't ever let go. So.
Well, good. Happy to hear that.
So another person related to the lab is actually Michael Harris. And Mr. Harris has done so much for his community of Flint. He has helped create and open the Flint Development Center. When people weren't trusting the water in Flint due to the water crisis, he reached out to his partners and friends, and he came up with solutions. We need to rebuild trust in water. And that's really where the idea for the Building the Community Lab came from. The way to rebuild trust is to help Flint residents be able to test their water from a trusted source, from Flint residents, to know whether that water is safe or not, and they can make that decision. So it wouldn't have happened without Mike. So Mike, it's just a pleasure to work with you, and you are very deserving of this award.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate that coming from you, Ann. You have a beautiful TV face, and now I see you have that wonderful NPR voice. I didn't know that, Ann. But yeah, this is a wonderful thing to be a part of. You all know at Freshwater Future that you're family to me. And Jill talked about this positive thing, putting out something positive. And the lab is a positive response to this water crisis that we had in the city of Flint. I think we found out that there are other places that have had this problem. So we, myself and Jill, we hatched this diabolical plan to come together and build a world-class lab in the neighborhood, right? And in, you know, in the hood, so to speak. This lab has become a place where young people are becoming lab techs. They are being taught to become chemists with wonderful organizations like Jerry's organization, Thermo Fisher, Freshwater Future, the Joyce Foundation. And I really want to let people know that I don't take the term hero lightly. You know, people have always told me, listen to what people call you and then take that to heart and work with it and either make it not true or true. So for somebody to call me a hero is a wonderful thing. I'm going to take it with love and respect and honor, and we're going to build on that. And I really want to thank you guys and the Hagerman Foundation, my foundation, and others, but especially Freshwater Future, for acknowledging what we've done together, acknowledging what we can do together, and acknowledging the future that we have placed in front of us. This is wonderful. Thank you, family, and I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mike. Wonderful words, and all of you are heroes to us, and that is why you inspire us. I'm gonna go to our next hero, though, and we have this award was actually given to two groups. We have two groups that received the award for their work to address a proposed mine along the shores of the Menominee River. Menominee River is the border between a section of Wisconsin and Michigan. And the Coalition to Save the Menominee River worked on the Wisconsin side, and the Mining Action Group has been working on the Michigan side. And they've been working for years to try to ensure that if this mine moves forward, that there will be proper restrictions and regulations in place to protect our drinking water and the health of the river. I'd like to, I think if Dale Bury is on, I'm going to have Dale go first. And I'm not sure if he's here or not. If not,
he is on the list, Dale Bury, but as an attendee, so that might
okay.
be, yeah.
We'll have Kathleen talk first, and then if we can bring Dale in, we'll bring him in. So Kathleen, if you would please share a few words.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm so excited to be part of this event with all of you freshwater heroes. It's hard to feel like a hero some days. You know, I think what we discover in this work is that we feel solitary sometimes, even when we're working with large groups of people. Especially the last couple of years, right? And also, I mean, that's an illusion, but also that it seems like it takes events like these, working with amazing groups like Freshwater Future, to realize our power. And so on Earth Day today, I would like to take a pause in the conversation to just give you a visceral example of that, a little preview of what we'll all be experiencing shortly. Up here, we don't have it yet. And I'm just going to play this. I hope you can all hear. So I'll just let that continue as I add my comments. The spring peepers alone, one peeper, is not very powerful, right? It's a little tiny frog and it doesn't have a huge voice, but when we all get together, we can be deafening, deafeningly powerful. So deafeningly powerful that the groups that are trying to harm the environment will have to sleep with pillows over their ears at night. So I just want to briefly thank some of the amazing people that we worked with in the past decade. I want to acknowledge, first of all, a group that is phasing out their operations, working on the Menominee project for the last 15 years. And that's the Front 40 group, the Front 40 Environmental Fight with Ron and Carol Henriksen. And they began this work before we picked it up. All of the people from Save the Wild UP's history, Save the Wild UP existed before the Mining Action Group continued their work with the Upper Peninsula Environmental Coalition. We received support on the work that we've done from the Superior Watershed Partnership as well, the Western Mining Action Network, the DuPage River fly tyers, Northern Illinois fly tyers, the Badger fly fishers, the Great Lakes M&M Great Lakes Sport Fishermen, Wisconsin Smallmouth Bass Alliance, Fly Fishers International, Great Lake Council of Fly Fishers International, the Emmerich Family Fund, and fly fishing enthusiasts really throughout the Great Lakes. There have been so many people helping with this. And, you know, the really huge fight this last 4 years on it was over the wetland permit, which would have untold, uncalculated consequences for wetlands along the Menominee River. And Michigan has already lost 40% of its wetlands, and we took a stand that the permit could not be issued. And we finally got a judge that agreed and blocked that permit. They're appealing, but that's the current status on it. So we have to keep singing our song. So thank you very much, Freshwater Future.
Thank you, Kathleen. That was inspiring. And the Peepers was a perfect example of how, when we raise our voices together, we can make a difference, and the persistence that's needed over time. We'll probably come back to Dale, so we'll give him a chance to talk at some point here. So once he can get back on as a panelist, I would next actually like to go to the concerned citizens of Butler and beyond. This is a group in New York that has worked to prevent a composting facility from bringing in 350 tons of sewage daily into their community that was right on the shores of Lake Ontario and would have threatened the drinking water for residents in that location. So we do have a video acceptance from them. So if we can just quickly go to that video.
Hi, I'm Christina Mastrangelo Gazowski, and this is Tommy Metler. We're here as part of the Concerned Citizens of Butler and Beyond. It's an organization that we created along with other members of our town in order to successfully foil the attempt of a multi-million-dollar company who wanted to transport more New York City waste to central New York and put a sewage sludge composting facility in our backyards. We said no, and we won.
We did. We pulled the community together. We formed a group and we researched. If they would have put that facility in, it could have been devastating to a huge watershed, the Port Bay watershed in the Great Lakes. So we didn't expect this award. We didn't do it for recognition, but we certainly appreciate it and we're truly humbled.
When it came down to it, our success was the result of a handful of key people who gathered resources, did some networking, and united the community. From there, the power came from the people who live here in Butler and in the towns and villages surrounding us who are willing to stand behind us. We had a lot of outside help from other organizations and people who had been in our shoes before, so we followed their advice and structured ourselves accordingly. We were determined, diligent, and tenacious in our process. While there were definitely naysayers along the way who said this was a done deal, we refused to believe it. We pulled it off, and we encourage other groups, if you're in a similar situation, to do the same. Reach out to other people who can help.
Yes, just because you don't think you can beat it doesn't mean you can't, because you can. So thank you again, Freshwater Future, for recognizing us. We are truly humbled.
Thank you.
Wow, that was a great reminder of one of the things I love best about Freshwater Future and all of the groups that we work with is everyone is willing to share their experience and peer learning. And it is because of that that we can then move our work on protecting our resources forward. So I see that Dale and Lee Burry are here. So actually, if we could just go back a slide, that would be really helpful. And Dale, we already introduced a little bit, you probably heard it, but we want to hear from you and Lee too, please.
Well, good morning. Is audio coming through, Ann?
Yes, it is. You sound great.
Okay. All right, thank you. As Ann mentioned, my name is Dale Burry and my wife is Leah Jane Burry. Back in 2017, we organized the Coalition to Save the Menominee River due to a Canadian mining group that wants to, who's proposing a sulfide mine of only 50 yards from the Menominee River. There has never been a successful sulfide mine in the history of mining. So, you know, it was very apparent that we were saddled with a situation that would definitely pollute and contaminate the Menominee River. The Menominee River, as Ann mentioned earlier, is definitely our boundary waters between Upper Michigan and the state of Wisconsin. So we are a total volunteer organization. There isn't anybody that gets paid. And our volunteers come from the state of Wisconsin and also the state of Michigan. So we're grateful for all of them and all of our volunteers. We are extremely grateful to Freshwater Future because we started in 2017 and my wife and I are basically musicians from Nashville, Tennessee, and we didn't know that much about mining, and the Freshwater Futures helped us. They were mentored us in gaining knowledge, and along with you know, the group at Kathleen Heidemann's group. So we have learned a lot about mining and a lot about the detriments of mining. We are we coming from, as I mentioned, that we're musicians. So on our website, we actually have delivered an awareness and advocacy song called Our Great Menominee River, Amen. And if you care to join it or look at it, it's jointherivercoalition.org. And we are humbled by the award from Freshwater and their willingness to work with us. And we are so grateful to them because they have been instrumental in our fight to save the Menominee River. We currently, we were litigants in the case in the state of Michigan on a contested case of the wetlands permit. And Judge Daniel Poulter did indeed deny the wetlands permit for the mine.
After 19 days in court
Yeah,
and a
19
year to make
days.
the decision.
But Aquila did have the right to appeal with a tribunal review, and that is coming up June 15th. So our attorneys are busy preparing their briefs that will be submitted to the tribunal for their decision. But I can assure all of our environmental friends that the fight is not over.
The next challenge is that dam safety application.
That's
And I'm
right.
not swearing, it's a type of dam.
Yeah,
There-
the dam safety, of course, we're also standing opposed to the application of the tailings dam, because they are applying with an upstream method dam. And you'll notice, you know, all of the failures of upstream method dams. We just can't have that in this area, not to spoil this world-class fishery and the Menominee River.
Dale, thank you so much for all that work. And we know the fight won't be over, and there will be many more steps along the way, but we are so grateful for your work, as well as with Kathleen's at the Mining Action Group. And we'll make sure folks can find the link to that song so you can hear that.
All our
Thank you.
volunteers are the heroes,
Yeah.
not us, just
Yeah.
all the volunteers. are the
That's right.
heroes.
All the volunteers to all these organizations are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to actually our freshwater hero of Karen Reinbold, one of our board members who served for 6 years. She helped us immensely with her work on financial tracking, but also she's a committed activist as well and helped to protect the wetland in her community too in Illinois. So here's her video.
Hi, I'm Karen Reinbold, and I'm the treasurer of Freshwater Futures Board. I'm excited to be with you today to celebrate the 2021 Freshwater Hero Awards. I'd like to recognize and congratulate this year's recipients and express my gratitude for having the opportunity to speak with you today. Over the past 6 years that I've served on Freshwater Futures Board, I've grown to appreciate with wonder all that the Great Lakes do. They're the source of drinking water for many of us, a major shipping channel, fishing, recreation. I would dare to say that they're integrated into the lives of the community to a greater degree than you would see in many other regions. They're also special in that they span 2 countries and 8 states, and that makes the work of Freshwater Future especially important in elevating and amplifying the work of citizen advocates and environmental groups throughout the region. So as a resident of the Great Lakes watershed, I want to thank you for your contributions in ensuring a healthy future for our water. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Our next award is for the Hold Erie Coke Accountable organization. And this group worked to ensure that a new permit review ensured that it was meeting environmental regulations because it was out of compliance. And so we're really grateful. This is not easy work to be enforcing regulations. So we want to introduce Pat Lupo.
Hello, I am Pat Lupo. I am with the Benedictine Sisters in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I co-chair HECA, Hold Erie Coke Accountable, and PLUA, the Pennsylvania Lake Erie Watershed Association. And I teach at the Inner City Neighborhood Art House. HECA is a group of local citizens in Erie, which formed in 2019, as Ann said, to ensure that the Erie Coke plant would be brought into compliance during a permit review process. We met with citizens in the Erie community, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, local government officials to exert pressure on Erie Coke to meet environmental regulations and to cease environmental violations. With growing pressure from citizens, the regulatory agencies, and the Erie wastewater treatment plant, Erie Coke abruptly shut its doors in December of 2020. There was no notice either to the workers of the plant or the Erie community. HECA is currently working with the EPA site recovery team to ensure that hazardous materials are recovered and disposed of properly. Though Erie Coke is closed, as you might guess, there is much work still to be done. We continue to monitor the site, address public health concerns, insist on additional water and soil studies, encourage job creation, and press to have input into the future use of the Erie Coke site. HECA is a small but great group, and we thank you for the Freshwater Heroes Award. It's always nice to be recognized by peers in the environmental field. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. We really appreciate that excellent work you've done. Our next Hero Award goes to Nancy Staley. And if you've ever received anything in the mail from us, a newsletter, a solicitation, a grant request for proposals, it's pretty likely that Nancy's loving hands were on it and touched it. And she probably told us how to mail those things out in the mail in the first place. So we are grateful to have had Nancy as part of our Freshwater Future family since 2014 to help us get mailings out. And we couldn't have made it through this last COVID year without her help. As we were all working from our homes, Nancy took extra steps to make sure she could assist us. So we really appreciate it, Nancy, and we miss you.
Thank you very much, Anne. Happy Earth Day to everybody that's online with us. It's a real pleasure to work with such a great group of people. And I retired from a paying job 20 years ago, April 1st of this year. And at the time, I decided that sitting at home alone was not my cup of tea. So volunteering became a very important part of my life. I wanted to work with organizations that dealt with natural resources because as a child and a young woman, I grew up in an atmosphere where my dad would take me hunting and fishing. And I worked as my last position as an environmentalist, reviewing and monitoring emissions from smokestacks at a cement plant located on Lake Michigan. During this period of time, I dealt with the Michigan DNR on a monthly basis, sending in all my reports. So upon retirement, I wanted to give back to the community and mailing flyers and letters through organizations like Freshwater Future has taken up a lot of my time, and it's given me a lot of enjoyment. I appreciate Freshwater Future very much because during this COVID period for the last 15 months that we've all been going through, I've been able to maintain my sanity by helping out with the mailings and taking them home if we don't get them all done during the course of the time that we sit down and put them together. So thank you to Anne, Leslie, Lori, and Jill. You've been my second family, and I really appreciate everything that you've done to make my life happier and given me a new learning experience outside a regular working environment. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Nancy. You'll always be a part of our family. So we appreciate you. I'm going to move on to the next award, which is the Toledo Water Council. This group of residents in Toledo have made huge strides in water democracy. They have, over the last year, advocated for a moratorium on water shutoffs. They ensured neighbors had water service restored if it was cut off. They pushed for and helped draft ordinances to keep families in water, like tenant landlord ordinance and debt forgiveness program. And they also urged the city to initiate a water affordability study. They have been very busy even throughout the pandemic. So thank you for that work, and to accept the award is Amir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Kenneth Bowles couldn't be here. Like you said, my name is Amir, and I work with Alicia Smith with the Toledo Community Water Council, and our focus is on water safety, health, and affordability. You may or may not be aware, in August of 2014, Lake Erie experienced harmful algae blooms, which rendered the water undrinkable. And so we focus on water quality, the elimination of contaminants in the water, water access, water recreation, and making sure kids have access to water. Also, recently there have been issues where families have been receiving ridiculously high water bills. So we're also focusing on water affordability because some families are having their water shut off, and obviously everyone needs water to live. So we work on getting the water turned back on and making sure, like I said, everyone has access to water that we all need to survive. Anything else?
Thank you so much, Amir. We appreciate your involvement and you jumping in to replace Kenneth. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our next organization award goes to Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation. And Freshwater Future has worked with Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation for over 20 years. They have taken on water withdrawals and bottled water issues in the state, and they always are willing to step in and take legal action if needed. And so we applaud their dedication and commitment over the past 20 years and some of their recent work as well. So accepting the award today is Peggy Case.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Freshwater Future, for being with us from the very beginning of our organization. We did begin in 2000 when Nestle was discovered withdrawing water in Mecosta County in the center part of Michigan. And we're drawing down to a stream and several little lakes. And under the leadership of Terry Swear and the legal leadership of Jim Olson, the organization formed with about 2,000 members who were horrified at the thought that Nestle was going to be extracting water from all of these lakes. So they filed a lawsuit. I think we're the only organization around Michigan that has ever sued or anywhere in the country that's actually sued Nestle. So it was a huge David and Goliath battle, went on for 9 years and cost $1 million. And this organization managed to raise that much money through all kinds of silly little things like Texas Hold'ems and garage sales and pasty sales, and paid off that debt. And we went on to do other things. We worked on the ban fracking campaign. We began to get involved with injection wells and the toxic waste that was being dumped under the aquifers in Michigan. And then Nestle began pumping in another county 20 miles away in 2011. And that's about when I came on board, and Terry sort of moved me into her position, and I became the president of the organization. My job has been as an organizer. That's what I do. I'm an organizer. And I do some writing as well. But I wanted to say that this organization has been as successful as it has for a couple of reasons. And one is the amazing volunteers that have been with us. Some of them are in this picture that you see. Some of those people are no longer part of our leadership, but the leadership comes and goes, but the members are there all along supporting us. And we have some phenomenal people who've been there from day one that you don't ever hear anything about, but they're there. People like Mary Ann Borden and Rhonda Huff, who live right along the creeks in Everett that are being challenged by Nestle's operation. People like John McLean, who is an expert on, we think he's an expert on things like injection wells, and he's a surveyor. So there's, we have people who just get there and do the work. We're completely all volunteer organization. Nobody gets paid anything. We don't have an office. We don't have any infrastructure that we pay for except a website and a post office box. We began in 2016 when Nestle applied for another permit to increase their pumping, to look at ways to connect ourselves to other things that were going on in the world at that time that were part of the same vision of getting rid of privatization of water. So we got involved with the Flint water disaster right away. and the Detroit shutoffs. Those two pieces of what's going on in Michigan are intimately connected to what happened with Nestle. Privatizing water, as you know, has been rampant all over the world. We're determined to stop it. So we're building webs of connection with organizations all over the country who are engaged in the same kinds of struggles. So for us, that's kind of where the future is. We're still in court, of course, we're still contesting Nestle, but our most important work is in building capacity among all of the water warrior groups that are trying to stop not only the plunder of water, but the privatization of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Peggy, so much for all that important work and helping us to take on water withdrawals and also bridging the concerns between urban and rural issues when it comes to water access. So over the last year, it's been a tough one for many of us. We have had to grieve the loss of many people, as well as the loss of many experiences and time that we could even spend with those, our loved ones. Our last two awards are actually Freshwater Hero Awards in memory of people who were very important Great Lakes advocates. And I know all of us have had losses, but we just wanted to honor a couple of those who also were very important to the water resources. So we have an award in memory of David Spangler, who's a Lake Erie charter boat captain. He dedicated over a decade of his life fighting for the health of Lake Erie and his charter and how it impacted charter fishing. Speaking on and accepting the award on his behalf is Captain Paul.
Hi, I just am honored by the opportunity to speak of my friend and Vice President of Lake Erie Charter Boat Association. Dave stood point on behalf of Lake Erie Western Basin. The harmful algal blooms got to him to a point that we decided we had to make changes. He took charge of the water sampling program in Lake Erie with cooperation of the EPA, OEPA, and Sea Grant. He took numerous senators and congressmen, both federal and state, out on his boat to educate them firsthand where they could see it best. Used his boat as a teaching tool because only on the boat could you see what's really going on. Took time to give talks to college groups, social groups, anybody that would listen to him. He averaged probably 25 to 40 talks per year. Worked with the DNR on fish telemetry studies for 3 years. Worked by facilitating wetland development in Toledo, Fort Clinton, in Sandusky Bay. Helped start a program with University of Toledo where we'll be taking out underprivileged students out on the Sandpiper to use scientific equipment to understand the water and the water quality in the Maumee River and its importance to the ecosystem. And I can't tell you how many times he traveled to DC and Columbus. These are just some of the projects he's been engaged in. I will greatly miss his energy and his drive. He will truly be missed and is missed right now.
Thank you so much, Captain Paul, for sharing those nice remembrances of all the important work that David did for Lake Erie. He will be missed by many. Our next award that goes, that it's done in honor and memory of is Michelle Wheeler. And Michelle was an incredible advocate for Lake Superior. I know I first got to know her when she was at the Bad River Watershed Association, Wisconsin. And whenever we called her and asked for anything, she would happily deliver. But I'm going to let one of her colleagues, one of my former colleagues, talk about her memories of Michelle. So I'd like to introduce Val Damstra.
Thank you so much, Anne. this is, yeah, this is really hard. But I just want to thank you and Freshwater Future for giving me this opportunity today. It's an honor for me to be here. It's an honor for Michelle to be recognized. And yeah, I was a staff person when Michelle was the director at the Bad River Watershed Association. So I had the immense privilege of getting to see firsthand the dynamic leadership that she had that contributed to many of her own personal successes and successes of the organization. And I also would just like to recognize that Michelle's work eventually expanded beyond the Bad River watershed. Later in her career, she was served as the coordinator for the Lake Superior Lakewide Area Management Plan with the Wisconsin DNR. And so this allowed her influence to kind of go beyond the watershed, multiple states and internationally. And she worked tirelessly on efforts to protect Lake Superior. And I could list so many accomplishments that Michelle has had that would help maybe quantify some of the impact she's had on the resource. But what I'd rather do is maybe just touch on a couple of the common themes that I think were some of the keys to Michelle's success and in part kind of shaped the person that she was to us. And the first of those is that if you knew Michelle, you knew she was an incredible communicator. She was intelligent, she's engaging, funny, and she was so skilled at talking about complex topics with a variety of audiences. And it wasn't just how she spoke, but it was also how she listened to people. And she listened to others with an intensity that you could just see in her whole body. She would lean into you as she listened and made you feel like you were the only person in the room that mattered to her in that moment. And she took in information from people and processed it so quickly that she could identify where the common ground was and start to put possible solutions together for whatever the challenge was that was being discussed. And I think the other piece that was really important to Michelle was community engagement. And Michelle was not someone who was interested in only engaging with the choir. It was really important to her to reach out and connect with a variety of community stakeholders. It was important to put in the work to get community buy-in if she wanted an initiative to be successful. And she was really passionate about engaging young people and advocating for opportunities for them to work together with other generations to clean and protect the lake. And I once heard her say that young people can do so much more because they have the time to do it. You know, their futures are wide open with possibility with the time on their side. So just to kind of close, I just want to share also that Michelle's husband, John, expressed to me that he continues to be amazed by the outpouring of positive recognition of all of Michelle's contributions during her career. And it occurs to him that while the work Michelle has done has had an impact in itself, what is meaningful is the groundwork that she's laid for the next generation of folks to continue the work. And I would say that there's absolutely truth in that. Because I know that for me and a lot of Michelle's colleagues, I know a lot of you are on there are many of you on the call today, that her contributions and inspiration lives on in all of us as we move forth with our own work, protecting water and natural resources. So Michelle's with us every day, and her legacy as a protector of clean water will not be forgotten. So thank you for the honor. And thank you to all the heroes. Michelle would love hearing your stories. So thanks.
Well, thanks so much, Val. It's very touching and also very hard to lose someone when they're so young. So we really appreciate that. Well, we've done our best to try to stay on schedule, and we're pretty close, but not quite. I'm going to pass it over to our board president, Stephanie Smith, to close us out today. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Anne. And thank you so much to everyone. What inspirational, beautiful, very touching
hour to be part of, to celebrate Earth Day, to celebrate fresh water, and to celebrate all of you wonderful heroes. Thank you so much on behalf of the Board of Directors for Freshwater Future. This work is critical to the world. It's critical to the health of ecosystems and people. And I'm just so grateful to be able to say thank you on behalf of the Board of Directors for Freshwater Future. I know our time is tight, but I do want to say that in thinking about why heroes are so important to us and why your work is so important to us, as I was listening, just reflecting on how this inspires and picks us up, gives us hope, helps us to see ways to solve problems, both for ourselves and in the larger context, and also to bring about justice. A lot of the themes related to working on behalf of the earth and water and on behalf of social justice, which is just such critical work to be doing always, but especially in this really critical time that we're in. I want to just say that the collective actions that you inspire, as many of you have referenced, they go beyond your own work, and you're inspiring others who are listening right now and inspiring those who are even farther afield. I know I will take some of these stories to inspire some of the work that I do both here in this region and in other parts of the world. And so I thank you for this, for your work and for sharing your work, for taking the time to put these thoughts together and to tell us a little bit about your stories so that we can learn from what you're doing and how you're doing it. So at the end of the day, you're helping us to both imagine and then be able to take action towards a more vibrant and just future. And I thank you deeply for this. Send it back over to you, Anne.